Love spreads. And I don't mean that in a poetic or motivational way. I mean it very literally, like something you can actually catch from the people around you. You've probably felt this before without even thinking about it. You walk into a room and somehow, before anyone even speaks, you already know the mood. Your body picks it up first. Your shoulders either relax or tighten, almost automatically. Maybe two people are laughing across the room and you catch yourself smiling too, even though you didn't hear the joke. Nothing happened to you directly, but you still feel lighter. And then there are those other moments when you step into a space that feels heavy and quiet and slightly off, and your chest tightens for no clear reason. Nobody warned you, nobody touched you, nothing actually happened, and yet your body reacts like something's wrong. When you really think about it, it's kind of strange. How can someone else's emotions change your body without you even talking to them? How does kindness spread through a crowd? How can something as personal as love quietly travel through groups of people? It sounds dramatic at first, but it isn't. Health researchers have been measuring this for decades, and what they keep finding is surprisingly simple. Your health doesn't stay contained inside you, it leaks into your environment. It affects the people around you, and what they carry affects you right back. Sometimes that exchange happens faster than a virus. So when I say something is contagious, I'm not talking about germs or coughs or something you picked up from a surface. I'm talking about patterns. Contagious just means something moves from one person to another and keeps going. It doesn't have to be visible or physical, it just has to transfer. Think about yawning. One person yawns and suddenly half the room follows. Nobody decided to copy them, it just happens. Or laughter. One genuine laugh can completely change the mood of a quiet space in seconds. If you zoom out, you start noticing that stress works the same way, and so does calm, and even everyday habits. When someone around you is sleeping poorly, snapping easily, or constantly tense, that mood doesn't stay with them. It seeps into conversations, into tone, into how everyone else responds, and before long, the whole space feels different. That ripple keeps moving outward. And that's really all contagion is, not something dramatic, just something deeply human. We're constantly reading each other, adjusting to each other, mirroring each other without realizing it. Once you look at it through a public health lens, you start to see that health isn't just biological, it's social. It moves through networks, from person to person. There's actually a small town in Massachusetts called Framingham, where researchers have been studying this kind of thing for generations. On the surface, it's just a normal town. Regular streets, regular families, kids going to school, people going to work. Nothing special. But since the late 1940s, thousands of residents there have taken part in what became one of the longest-running public health studies in history. It started with heart disease. Researchers simply wanted to understand why some people got sick and others didn't. Over time, though, they collected more than just medical data. They ended up mapping relationships too. They knew who was married to who their friends were, who lived next door, how people were connected. It started to look less like a list of patients and more like a web of human connections. And at some point, someone asked a different kind of question. Not about cholesterol or blood pressure, but something softer and everyday. Does happiness spread between people? It almost sounds too simple to study, but they had decades of records, so they followed people year after year and watched what happened when someone's life improved and they became happier. What they noticed was surprisingly consistent. If your close friend became happier, your own chances of becoming happier went up too. And it didn't stop there. Your friend's friend could influence you. Even someone 3 social steps away, someone you might never actually meet, could still shift your odds. In other words, your emotional health wasn't just yours. It was shaped by the people around you, and even by people connected to them. Happiness moved through that town quietly, from person to person, connection to connection, almost the way a cold moves through a classroom. Nobody was trying to spread it. Nobody planned it. it just traveled. So suddenly, this idea stopped appearing abstract and started sounding measurable. Your mood isn't just a private thing happening inside your head. It is something flowing through your social network, like a ripple moving through water, like something contagious. There's another story public health researchers often talk about, and this one doesn't come from a lab or a hospital. It comes from a small town in Pennsylvania called Rosetta. Back in the 1950s and 1960s, a doctor noticed something strange. People in Rosetta weren't dying from heart attacks the way everyone else was. Nearby towns had the usual numbers: middle-aged men getting sick suddenly, hospitals filling up, but Rosetta just didn't. Almost nothing. It didn't make sense, so researchers went in expecting to find some hidden health secret. Maybe they ate better, but they didn't. Lots of pasta, sausage, fried food, pretty normal, honestly. Maybe they exercised more. Nope. Maybe it was genetics, but relatives who moved away lost the advantage, so it clearly wasn't food or fitness or medicine. When they finally slowed down and looked at how people actually lived, that's when things started to click. 3 generations under one roof, doors always open, neighbors constantly stopping by, people eating together, talking together, showing up for each other every day. Nobody really isolated, nobody carrying life alone. And slowly, the pattern became obvious. It wasn't what they were eating, it was who they were eating with. It wasn't just biology, it was the bond. Those tight social bonds, that daily support, that feeling that someone always had your back, acted almost like protection. Stress didn't pile up the same way. Loneliness didn't sink in the same way. It was as if the whole town was quietly absorbing the pressure for each other. So their hearts lasted longer. Not because they tried harder, but because ordinary, everyday connection was quietly protecting them. So then the question becomes, how does that even work? How does something invisible, like a feeling, move from one person to another? And the answer is actually simpler than we think. We copy each other, constantly, without even noticing. If you sit across from someone long enough, you'll see it happen. They lean forward and you lean forward. They cross their arms, and a few minutes later, you do too. They lower their voice and yours softens. They smile and your face relaxes. You're not choosing to do it. Your brain just mirrors what it sees. Because biologically, we're wired to sync with the people around us. It's how we bond. It's how we feel safe. It's how we understand each other. But here's the part most people don't realize. When you copy someone's body language, you don't just copy the movement. Your body copies the state, too. If someone near you is tense, breathing fast, talking sharply, your nervous system picks that up. Your heart rate shifts, your muscles tighten, stress hormones rise, and suddenly you feel stressed, even though nothing bad actually happened to you. And calm works the same way. Sit next to someone relaxed and laughing easily, and your breathing slows, your shoulders drop, and you feel lighter without trying. So emotions don't always need to be explained. A lot of the time, they're transmitted through faces, through tone, through posture, through tiny signals we barely register. It's less like talking and more like tuning, like radios slowly finding the same frequency. Which means every time you're around other people, your body is constantly adjusting, constantly syncing, constantly catching what they're carrying. There's nothing mysterious about it. It's just humans influencing humans, all the time. And this is where Valentine's Day suddenly feels different. Because when we talk about love spreading, we're not really talking about grand gestures or dramatic moments. It's usually much smaller than that. It's the everyday stuff we almost overlook. Someone checking in to ask if you've eaten. Someone remembering how you like your coffee. Someone listening without rushing you. Someone texting, "Did you get home safe?" Little things, but your body feels them immediately. Your breathing slows, your shoulders relax, you feel steadier. And when you feel safe like that, you naturally soften. You speak more gently, you're more patient, you show up better for the next person. And without even trying, you pass that same feeling along. So love doesn't spread because we plan it, it spreads through how we behave, through tone, through presence. One calm person can change the feel of an entire room. One kind moment can shape someone's whole day, and that day affects how they treat the next person, and it just keeps moving from one kind person to another.